Today I will be talking about the Aymaras people of South America, their background information as well as their culture, and stating what is common among the Indigenous peoples of Canada. So to start off, who are they and where are they located? The Aymara are the indigenous group of peoples who are mostly located in Bolivia on the Andes Mountains. This group of people may also be found in southern Peru and northern Chile among the Altiplano. Life on the Altiplano is very tough. The low level of oxygen can leave one with soroche, which is altitude sickness. In order to adapt to this group of people have undergone physiological changes like increased lung capacity to cope in their environment. It is unknown where their name comes from or what it means, however, it could have been passed down from previous Andean language. The Aymara people speak Aymara, originally called Jaki Aru, but there are several dialects that many speak. The most common are Jakwaru and Kaki. In the cities and towns, the Aymara are bilingual, speaking both Spanish and English. And so if we look at the top right-hand corner of my slide, I have put a picture of a map of a little bit of Southern America, and the green coloring is where the Aymaras people are located. So as you can see, it's mostly in Bolivia, and then there's a little bit in Peru and Chile. And at the bottom, I just put a picture of a Aymara lady with her kid. So let's move on to their flag. So their flag is called a wapala. There are 7 different colors, and each color represents something different. So red represents land, orange would represent society, yellow, energy, time would be white, green would be economy, blue would be space, purple or violet would be politics. So their life in society. So the living conditions depend on where they live and how much they have been integrated into the Western lifestyle. The Aymara that live in cities live in modern houses or apartments. And in the rural areas, the makeup of a house is based on its location and the availability of materials. A typical house is a small oblong dwelling constructed of adobe, but near the lakes, reeds are the primary building material. The houses have thatched roofs and are made of reeds and grasses. And so I have put on 2 pictures, just showing what kind of houses they look like in the rural areas. And so the top one is located on Lake Titicaca, and then the bottom one is, I just put another picture up there just for another example. So the basic social unit is the extended family, which consists of parents, unmarried children, and grandparents in one house or in a small cluster of houses. Large families are very common, and this will consist of having 7 or 8 children. The Yule is a name for the traditional indigenous community of the Andes in pre-Hispanic times. These were bound together by rules of kinship affiliation and reciprocity. The Yule were independent, they educated, they farmed, and traded for all the food they ate. So now let's talk about the food of the Aymaras people. Their food is prepared with products available to them. The main ingredients include potatoes, quinoa, and beans. If they choose to include any meat, it is usually fish from the lakes or llamas. A popular food item that is used in many dishes is called charqui, which is dried salted llama or fish, or really any dried meat. A popular dish is chero, and I have indicated a picture on the side with an arrow pointing to it. It is a stew made from chunyu, which are dried potatoes, cooked with herbs and spices, and sometimes llama meat. And in the cities, there is one distinctive diet characteristic. Ají, which is a hot pepper, is used to season the dishes. I've also added a little fun fact on the bottom, and this is that quinoa has been growing in the Andes for centuries, and this is something that now we eat a lot of in Canada. So let's go ahead and talk about some clothing. So in the cities, men wear regular Western clothes, and women wear their traditional polleras, which are ample skirts, which are made of fine materials like velvet and brocade. They also wear shawls that are embroidered and bowler hats. In the Altiplano, there are strong cold winds that blow, which requires warm clothing to be worn. Many women will layer their skirts to protect them from the cold, and it is also common to layer about fiber skirts for festivals or other special occasions. For the headwear, the women wear distinctive bobbin or bowler hats. The men, on the other hand, wear long cotton trousers and woolen caps with ear flaps. Depending on the region, men also wear ponchos. For footwear, both men and women wear sandals or shoes, but many go barefoot even in the cold. So I have just put 3 pictures on there. I just basically looked up traditional Aymara clothing, and they're mostly women, and I apologize for that. I couldn't really find many pictures of men. So now we're going to move on to the Aymara tradition. So the Aymara have a rich musical tradition. Drums and flutes are featured at festivals and celebrations. Zampoñas, which are panpipes, and the pututu horn which is made out of cow's horn, are traditional instruments. And I have put pictures of both of those on the slides. Cow horn is the thing that looks like the horn, and then the panpipes or the zampoñas which is just to the left of the word zampoña. Homemade violins and drums are also common. Traditional dances have been passed down through generations. Many dances feature large, bright masks and costumes. And so I put a picture up on the top right-hand corner of, some traditional dance that they're doing, and there's bright colors on their costumes and a mask and whatnot. Some of the dances represent and make fun of the Spanish colonizers. For example, the old man's dance features a bent-over Spanish nobleman with a large top hat. The dancer will imitate in a funny way the gestures and mannerisms of old Spanish gentlemen. They also have a very rich and long oral tradition. Many of their songs, poems, and stories assembled by missionaries or Ladino Indians, sorry for the word, this means that Indians that learned how to write. Now there are many Aymara who write down their stories and legends and publish them bilingually, so in Spanish or their native language. So now we'll move on to something that is common with the Indigenous peoples of Canada, which is a sacred product. And so this is the cocoa plant. And like I said, it is considered a sacred product. The Aymara will chew the leaves, use them for a hot drink, and also for medical rituals. They believe the cocoa leaves help stimulate the body, reducing the fatigue, thirst, and sickness associated with the lack of oxygen due to the extreme elevation. The leaves produce a mild medicinal effect and do not contain cocaine. So basically, I just put pictures of the cocoa leaves, the coca leaves, and then I put a picture of the coca plant. So now we'll move on to the religion. The Aymara believed in the power of spirits that live in mountains, in the sky, or in natural forces such as lightning. The strongest and most sacred of the deities is Pachamama, the earth goddess. The Aymara peoples have been introduced to Christianity and will attend Mass and celebrate baptisms and follow the Catholic calendar of important Christian events, but considering their many religious festivals, they still maintain their traditional beliefs. For example, they will still make offerings to Mother Earth to assure a good harvest or cure illness. Today, the Aymara peoples maintain their beliefs expressed in the existence of many categories of magicians, diviners, medicine men, and witches. So this is the first part of invasion and colonization. And so this was the invasion of the Inca. The first invasion that the Aymara endured was in 1430 by the Incas. The Aymara territories eventually formed a big part of the Inca Empire. However, the Aymara continuously revolted against. The Incas introduced new religious cults and myths and a variety of great food and new art styles. And the second part of the invasion and colonization was the Spanish conquest. So in 1535, the Spanish brought seekers of gold and Indian labor, then Dominican and Jesuit friars looking for converts. The colonial agriculture economy was based on exploitation of the Aymara and agriculture in the mines as household servants and on the coca plants in the jungles. From 1780 to 1821, there was a period of rebellion in which the Indians killed a large amount of Spaniards. This continued until the Peruvian independence from the Spanish crown was proclaimed. The Spanish introduced new domesticated animals and plants, plow agriculture, and iron tools. They tried to strip the Aymara religion away from them, but that did not go over well. They weren't very successful, and only a small amount converted to Christianity. The Spaniards' conquest had, had severe consequences over the indigenous population due to the spread of new and unknown European diseases and colonial exploitation. And so the last thing I'm going to talk about are I put two things into one slide, and so the outcomes of the Western colonization, and then some of the current issues with the Aymara's people and in their regions. So one of the biggest things is the clothing. So like I said, there's lots of men wearing Western influenced clothing, and and then where they live, it depends if they were really migrated into the Western lifestyle. And so then there's also migration from rural areas to cities. And these people did become an important and influential part of culture and society. There are many parents protesting for bilingual education. They want their children to speak Spanish rather than their native language. So this kind of gave me, kind of a similar idea to the Indigenous peoples of Canada, and just how not that another, I guess another group of people did take away their language because now they're being forced to speak Spanish because that's what the majority of them are speaking. This kind of happened with the Indigenous people and how, they were forced out of their language. And now the majority of them speak English because the people that took over were English speakers. And so there's a little bit of similarity there with this. And so another problem or current issue is a polluted state of Lake Titicaca. And if they are living in this region, then most of them their fish probably won't be good anymore, and their food sources, they'll have a lack of food sources. For the most part, the Aymara have still maintained their original culture with changes here and there. Most of the changes were because of the Spanish colonizers, which, changed their clothing, their living style, their food, and whatnot. And yeah, so it's easy to see, a similarity, especially between, how colonizer changed the lifestyle and took stuff away. It didn't so much happen with the Aymara people as it did with the Indigenous people of Canada, but it is, obvious to see how people who think they're in a higher group can just strip away everything from a certain culture. My references are located on the next slide. And yeah, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something today.